Look at that.
As today's episode, we've got my buddy from Sacramento, California, friend of the show, great friend of mine, Josh Hastings. Josh, how you doing, buddy?
Spectacular. How are you?
Good, man. It's good. It's good to see you.
Probably better than you with the weather that I'm having here in California versus the beautiful weather of Toledo, Ohio. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I had to take off my winter clothes to do this podcast. It's
I
like
gotta-
15 degrees, and you're out there in flip flops and shorts. I love it.
Not quite, not quite. It's cold today for us. It's in the 50s,
Yeah, well, and enjoy it. I'll be out there to see you in a couple months.
Yes, sir.
How's everything going, man?
Good. Yeah, staying busy, doing, just doing the thing.
Appreciate you taking the time. And for those listening on today's episode, what we're going to talk about is Josh and what he's built over the past, what, how many years? 15 years? 14 years?
Since 2012, so 13, little coming up on 13 years.
Over the past 13 years of a lifestyle of freedom. What we're doing is we're spending this entire year of 2025 teaching people and sharing stories of how you can design your own lifestyle that you choose through real estate investing. I know there's a lot of noise out there to where people are chasing the amount of deals and these big outlandish numbers and crazy stuff that you see on the internet. And first and foremost, 99% of what you see on the internet is not real. Just to nail that down. And second is I'd like you to be aware that freedom is what most people, most professionals are chasing. Today we're going to talk about how we've gotten there. Josh, so thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, thank you.
So let's take it back a little bit. For those that haven't heard Josh's first episode on this, let's talk back to the property management days and how you got into real estate to begin with.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I'm going to take you a little bit further back than that, but yeah, 2008 was a great real estate market for everybody. I was working a corporate job. Wife was working for her company, and market crashed. And basically, we both had to transition careers right when the market crashed. So we went from our, great income, solid jobs to I hit the reset button and started over in basically in property management in end of 2008, making 2,500 bucks a month back, when I was used to making, close to six figures. It was a big change, almost a 50% drop in income. uh, and that was my first taste into the real estate market, doing property management, being an actual property manager, getting my real estate license to be a manager, and managing other people's investments for them, basically.
Got it. So you were the guys taking care of other people's income properties,
Exactly. Yep.
right?
Yeah. And then kind of fast forward, struggle through that, starting a new business and working with my parents at the time. Um, Kind of figuring out how to grow that business. And because the market had crashed, and my wife Christy had transitioned into real estate, we were working together to help other people find investment properties, just here locally in the Sacramento area, um, that would make sense to turn them into rentals. So buy a bank owned property at the time, REO, bank owned property, figure out how much they needed to put into it to get it rent ready, and then do the work, help them get the work done through our vendors, and kind of turn it into a rental and plug it into our pipeline, and kind of, rinse and repeat. So we were kind of, that was back before any education, any, understanding of how real estate works. I was like, well, we just kind of, found a need and solved it and figured out how to make some money out of it. So over between 2012, no, I'm sorry, 2008 to 2011-ish is kind of when that started to die down. 2012 was kind of when that died down. The prices had kind of took off enough to where it didn't make sense anymore to buy in the areas we were looking. We did about 30, I think it was 35, 36 houses for other people where we helped them find it. Christy was a real estate agent. We'd get the work done and place a tenant and put it in our pipeline.
So your clients were totally hands off. They were reaching out to somebody looking for an opportunity to park some money somewhere,
Exactly.
and you were finding that deal, handling the entire renovation, the rehab, everything that went along with that, and then managing it on the back end.
Exactly. Yeah. So we would help source the property basically as Christy, the real estate agent. I would just come along as her husband, knowing what we need to do to get it, into what the rental market requires in that area.
Right.
And I'd give them, a rough idea of what I thought basically doing a turn would be, essentially, because in the property management world, we're doing a turn, we're not doing a flip. So we're just turning the unit. Sometimes that included windows and roofs, but the majority of it, we're just looking for turn items. Maybe we're doing countertops and paint, flooring, just the things to get it like rent ready.
Right.
That, most of our budgets were anywhere from 10,000 to, I think the max we did was like 35 grand. And again, this is back in, 08, 9, 10, when, prices were, or it costs a lot less to get stuff done.
Right.
But we'd occasionally do a roof, but the majority of it was just like, cosmetic stuff, maybe some countertops, appliances, and then paint, flooring, and all that kind of good stuff. And we found things like, people don't think about this, since we're in the property management world. When you're putting tenants in a property, sometimes it's better to spend a little bit more and do tile versus doing linoleum. Sometimes it's a little bit more a better idea to do granite countertops instead of Formica or tile. So we would kind of find that middle ground where we could spend the money that we know we're not going to be throwing money away. Like
Right.
we got completely got away from doing linoleum in bathrooms because one tenant later they tear the floor, you're doing a whole new floor. Whereas if it was tile, maybe you're just fixing some grout, and or maybe fixing a tile piece if it was something crazy happened. But just trying to do things that you do once, not every tenant.
Got it. So you found a way through real estate at the beginning.
Yeah.
You just by talking through this, you've got three income streams, right? You've got the income stream with Christy on the agent side of things. You've got the compensation for overseeing the project, getting the turn done, and then on the back end, you're getting the compensation for managing the property.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So you're talking from being an educated investor standpoint.
Okay. Got
Okay.
it.
I did this as not an educated investor. So there was two streams of income for me. I didn't understand. There's actually a fourth that you didn't key in on yet, but yes, finding the property through the real estate agent, Christy got paid. I did not get paid for managing the project because I didn't have the education I have today or the education that we have, right? And
Okay.
then yes, then we plugged it into our pipeline as a rental. There's two streams of income that we missed. I could have pre-purchased it with a private lender
Yeah.
or wholesaled it to them instead of having Christy just be an agent. So
Right.
I could have double dipped on the front side. Yes, I should have got paid for managing the project, and then it would have been plugged into the portfolio at the end anyways. But yeah, so
Okay.
there was two streams of income that we probably left on the table. But again, we weren't educated back then. And knowing what I know now, I would have probably kept every single property we did using other people's money, and just I would have had 35 rentals. But education didn't come until 2012, which we'll touch on here shortly. But we were just doing it as I was like, hey, on the fly, hey, this is a need. I see we can make some money. This is what we already do. Let's just go. And we went.
So what happened to the point where it sounds like you had a pretty solid business going there until the market started pivoting again in 2012? What was the aha moment when you were like, okay, we're doing this. We're taking action. We're doing everything that we think we're supposed to do. I need to be taught how to do this right. What did that
Yeah.
look
I'm sure everybody in some, I mean probably closer to our age. Well, you're older than me, but
like? Thanks.
but like, we used to always watch Flip This House and see these shows. I'm like, man, how are they doing this? This looks fun first, right? They always make it look fun on TV. This looks fun and easy. Let's go make some money. Um, so I'd always watch Flip This House, and I'd always wanted to flip houses, and talked to Christy about that early on in our relationship. And she happened to be at the time, fast forward to 2000, actually 11 is she started meeting or working with this other investor who was a general contractor by trade. He had a friend that was a money man. Because he's doing the work himself, he could only handle one house at a time. So they do maybe 2, 3 houses a year. She would be his agent. When she came along, when they got introduced, she realized that he needed a woman's touch because he was a contractor, and the finishes were a little rough, little what's the little harsh, if you will, little manly. Excuse me. So she helped him with his finishes, and then she listed it. So she helped him find it, and then she helped him list it, and she helped him with the design along the way to be involved. And he realized he was getting older, and he was like, you know what, I can't swing a hammer for the rest of my life. So he actually heard the commercials on the radio, back in the day. I don't think they're as prevalent anymore, but about learn how to flip houses without using your own money. Come to this free seminar. So he went to the seminar. He drank the Kool-Aid. He bought in. He's like, look, I see how this is value. I'm already doing it. I see the value in it. But at his age, he's like, look, maybe want to bring in someone a little younger that can help us do all the other things. So he actually called Christy and was like, hey, I went to the seminar. I want to, I'd be interested in having you guys, come on and be partners with us in this business. And Christy's like, okay, well, what, how does it look? And he's like, well, hey, you go to this seminar. They're coming back into town. Um, bring Josh, it's me, and go to it and see if you guys want to do it. We got in the car and I said, yes, I want to do it. I hadn't even been to the seminar yet. I'm like, yes, this is what I want to do. And Christy's like, well, hold on, slow down. Let's figure out if, what all the bells and whistles, all that. And I'm like, it's fine. To give you peace of mind, we'll go and we'll we'll see if it's something we want to do. And I mean, like I said, I already knew I wanted to do it. I'll figure. I was jumping out the plane and I was grabbing the parachute on the way out. I'll find it, put it together, whatever, figure it out before I hit the ground. Right, that's me.
Yep.
Christy's like, well, where's the parachute? How fast is the plane going? What's the wind velocity? What, wanted to know everything, which is why we work. But
Yep.
so we went to that seminar, and funny story. I've told this before, not everyone knows it, but on the way to that seminar, so we had lost everything in '08, short sold, filed bankruptcy, had our nice Yukon Denali picked up and handed the tow truck driver the keys because I got repossessed, lost everything. So we started over and we were still building. And in 2012, we had our second son in May. This was in October, I believe. Yeah, October of 2012. So he was 6 months old, almost 6 months old, and we were still struggling. So that morning, we dropped our kids off at daycare. We were driving. I still vividly remember it, driving down the road, and I literally, back then, we didn't have the technology we have today. So I was calling my credit cards out of my wallet on the back. There's a phone number on the back, for those of you that don't know, to call your credit card company to figure out what your balance was, because we had to buy lunch that day. And I didn't know what card had enough room to buy lunch at Togo's or whatever sandwich shop you have in your area, just a basic sandwich shop. So we were calling to see which card had enough room on it for the day to buy lunch to go to the seminar. So it was, we were on the struggle bus. We like I said, had lost everything, and we were trying to figure it out. So that was on the way to the seminar. I went to the seminar. After the first day, I'm like, wow, they have this thing called the deal analyzer, and it is absolutely amazing. With that, I believe I can do anything.
Yeah.
And then they're using other people's money. Need to learn a little bit more about that than just one day. But I'm seeing what they're doing. I'm in. And Christy's like, you know what? This is pretty special. So we made the decision. Again, we were broke, so thankfully, our business partner at the time, through the first company we launched, was like, "Hey, look, I'll write the check." I think he may put it on a credit card. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll put it on my card and then we'll pay it back over deal by deal. It was a X number investment. We're going to pay it back over the first 5 deals. Boom, and we did actually in the first year in 2013. We did 5 deals and paid it back out of the first 5 deals before we paid ourselves.
Nice. Nice. So what was life like a year after investing in that education?
Um, Man, so if we one year into making that decision, we were finishing our probably our fourth to fifth house at that time, and I mean, seeing the writing on the walls. I look over here. I have my numbers. So um, yeah, we sold five with that company in 2013, and then we sold 9 in 2014. So we were like, oh, boom, like we're starting to see that ramp up. Um, so through 2013 into 2014, I realized I absolutely hate property management. I hate it. You know, when the phone rings, it's a problem. If you're in property management, when the phone rings, it is a problem. It's not no one's ever going to call you and say, "Hey, you know what? You're doing a great job. Thank you." Not an owner, not a tenant, not an inspector, not a vendor, nobody. So when the phone rings, you're like, what's wrong now?
Right.
Is it an owner complaining about a bill that we had to pay or something we had to do? Is it a tenant complaining that their shitter's full? Sorry for the language, but those kind of things every day. When the phone rings, it's a problem. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna look to move on from property management. Um, my mom had passed away in 2013, and I had taken over the business fully, and I decided, you know what, I need to move on from this. So honestly, 2013 into 2014 was the hardest time of my life, to be honest. Actually,
Right.
I lost my mom. We were struggling. We were learning. I was working 2 jobs, so I was working my full time in property management. I had to learn her job because I had to do my job and her job, and then I was learning this real estate business. Going to, we went to probably 2 different seminars that year, maybe 3 seminars to learn the business. So I'm working 1, 2, 3, and probably 3.5 jobs on the real estate side to figure everything out. And I only know one. I only know how to manage a property. That was it at the time. So I'm learning all these other things, and I'm doing it without basically my right hand in the business, as my mom. Um, and I just realized I'm like, I can't do everything. So I hate this. I love this flipping houses thing. So how can I, unload this property management without just, washing away 5 years of work? So I was able to sell the portfolio to another management company to get a little bit residual income to fill while we're building the real estate business. I knew
Nice.
that was the path, and I never looked back.
Nice. So that you got out of the property management, you were to sell that off, and you went all in on. At that time, you were just strictly rehabbing. That was your niche.
Correct. Yeah, we were strictly rehabbing. So, back in our first house was probably something, similar that you're doing out there in Toledo. It was a cookie cutter 3 bedroom, 1 bath.
Mhm.
I think a 1 car garage. We had an attached garage. I think a lot of your garages were detached, but 3 bedroom, 1 bath, attached garage on, on a busy street actually in our area. And I'm like, we got it for like 90 grand, and it sold for like 175, I think is what our first house was. Back in 2020, the beginning of 2013.
Okay, so you didn't you skipped right over. You're a lot like me when it comes to that. You partnered up with a contractor that had a construction side down, so you skipped right over all the wholesaling and all the other stuff that people usually get into real estate first.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, so in our business, we realized that I was acquisitions. Like when we started, I was acquisitions, and I sourced private funding. He was the contractor. He was on the job sites every day. Christy was design and real estate, and then my partner's wife was the financials side of things. So she handled all the books, all the cutting checks and all that stuff. So we kind of were a 4 person team that just kind of divvied it out, and kind of we all kind of tried did our best to stay in our lanes.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people need to hear that because so many people are caught up by thinking you need these big outlandish teams to have success in real estate, and you guys were thin right out from the gate, right?
Yeah, and the reason why we skipped wholesaling was just only because we, one leg. So if you take our business as a 4 leg table, one of our legs had as a GC and been in construction his entire life. So there
Right,
was no reason why we would, make that 5, 10, 15 grand when we could make the full rehab profit. And the I was able to source money with the education, understanding how to word it, how to have the conversation, how to talk through with a potential private lender. Hey, let's use your money to make you some money, right? So I went right back to the owners that I already built this relationship with, and finding them rental properties. So I was like, hey, rental properties had kind of died out, right? So I'm like, let's find another way to use your money to make money. So I
right.
was like, hey, I got this opportunity. So the very first house we ever bought was a private lender, full purchase price, full rehab, 100% upfront, no payments, no points. Just you lend me the money, you send it to title, I'll do the work. Title will send you the money back with some new friends.
So you've talked a lot about private money lending here, and just to unpack that for anybody who might be listening,
Yeah,
when you were introduced that concept, the deal analyzer and the concept of raising private money were the two things that grabbed a hold of me as well,
yeah.
right? So when you first heard the term OPM or other people's money or private money lending, what did that do to you? What did that do to your business? And what has that done now over the past since 2012? What how are you still using that today?
I mean, I was literally sitting there just mind blown, just like jaw to the table, like what? I mean, I can go ask somebody for a couple $100,000, and they're like, yes, that that's it. Yes, we're done. So basically, the documentation, how to do the documentation, how to have that conversation. I went to additional trainings throughout the years on continuing that education on how to have the conversations, how to talk to, potential private lenders, how to get your private lenders to go talk to other private lenders to bring their friends with you or with them to come lend on your deals.
Right.
So I mean, from day one, and in that first conversation I had, I called my three probably people that I had the best relationship with in my property management business that I had done houses for. All three of them said yes right away. I was, again, jaw floor to the table drop, like, well, oh my gosh, it can be that easy.
Yeah.
Not it is that easy, it can be that easy. But I'm like, okay, so let's continue to do this. Like I said, in year one we did 5 deals, in year two we did nine, then we ramped up to 17. And still to this day, 100% of my deals in my business have been funded by private lenders. I'm talking full purchase, full rehab, everything. So what we
Well,
do is when we get a deal together, we use the deal analyzer to create the documentation, some of the documentation that we need to get them the information to what they're looking for on to make a decision on whether they're going to lend on a deal or not. And then and over the years, we've needed to grow, right? My first house I said was $90,000. We just sold a spec home new build this last year for $3.1 million.
Right.
So I mean that's a big range of what you need. Um, so along the way, we got into flips that are in the threes, fours, $500,000 range, where you may have a lender that's like, oh, I have $200,000. Like, well, do you have any friends that have a couple $100,000 that want to do the same thing? Whether it be in their IRA, sitting in a savings account, their checking account. You know, does your friend have multiple friends that want to get involved? After a good experience, and then they phone a friend, and we've put lending packages together with three, four, five people.
What would you tell anybody that's hearing this? There's going to be a lot of people listening to this, especially in our local market, that they still can't grasp the mindset or the concept of other people's money. I remember the first time I had heard this sitting in the same event you were at, same different place, same event. And I remember looking over at my buddy Chuck and I said, who in the hell is going to loan us money to flip a house? Right. And I
Yeah,
remember saying that
I
exactly. I said,
yeah.
who?
The answer is they're not necessarily loaning you the money; they're loaning it on the deal. It's
Yes.
all about the deal.
Yep.
Because what they're looking at is like in my market, a flip that I'm working through right now, the after repair value is $500,000. We bought it for 320. That equity alone is like, oh wow, okay, there's a spread there. I
Yep.
borrowed $400,000. I'm still at 80% of value, with that extra 80 grand in there to make sure I have enough money to pay the taxes, to pay the closing costs on the purchase side, to fix it up along the way, pay the electricity, water, sewer, garbage, pay the contractors, get it done, and then get it on the market, pay staging, get it on the market. We stage everything we do, in our market. So then, that rehab costs us around $80,000, and then we listed it for 475.
So when you started that, you got your first private money lender or two back in the day. How did the growth happen? I always tell people like, listen, all you need to do is focus on giving one person
Yep.
a great experience in lending. That one person will turn into two. That two person will turn into four, and so on. What did the growth of different people that wanted to work with you on the lending aspect look like over the years?
Yeah, I mean the growth really happens after they get their money back. I mean that's like, okay, you do your first deal and you're like, okay, how was that? Like, you wrote a check to title for $100,000 and you got $120,000 back. Does that work for you? Is that that'd work for me? And of course, if I had the money to lend, I'm like, yeah. So I'm sitting here, I'm doing my own thing at my own job, but I sent out $100,000 that way for 3 to 6 months, and then it came back with another extra 20 grand. That's a pretty sweet deal, or
Yeah,
whatever that number is, $15,000. Whatever, a deal. Every deal is different. So once they have that experience back and they get that money back, they're like, okay, well that was awesome. Can I do it again? I haven't even. So the deal I'm currently doing right now, we're set to close on. Gosh, I don't remember. It's in the 19th, I think it is. It's in like 2 weeks.
okay,
That lender, I reached out, hey, we sold. Be on the lookout for the call from the title rep to get your docs lined up for closing. He's like, okay, great, thanks. That was fast, awesome. Do you have another one ready?
yeah,
Ready, already ready to go. I didn't even have to ask. He was
right,
like, hey, is another one ready? I'm like, not yet, but I'll let you know as soon as it is.
yeah,
Because I didn't particularly have a place for his funds yet, but I just want to make sure you keep him on the hook to be
right,
ready for the next one. But starting smaller, right? So if it was $100,000 house and he got his money back, I'm like, okay, hey, look, here's the next deal comes along. Hey, we're kicking the price range up a little bit. I'm gonna need $200,000 on this one. And he's like, oh, well, I got 100. I'm like, okay, well, it was the last experience. Would you say that was a good experience for you? The last lending deal. And he said, if there's not, obviously I know the answer. He's gonna say yes. Say, okay, well, do you have anyone else that might have $100,000 that would be willing to come in with you on it and lend the $200,000 so you can both make money?
right,
Oh wow. And then those phone calls start happening without, and then they're calling their friends, and that the transfer of trust, because you built the trust with that first lender, the transfer of trust to the next person is already built in because they're selling you automatically. They're already saying, oh, this is what happened. I mean, I've had a referral go out like to two, maybe three different layers of people, where someone referred someone who referred someone who referred someone else. And they may have only had like $50,000, but still, like that's someone who, I don't know what the joke is about, the Kevin Bacon layer, how many levels you get to Kevin Bacon. I've heard that joke, right? But like literally three or four layers of people, like I don't even know, are now reaching out to me because I had a great experience and I just asked the question, do you have anyone else that would want to make money with you in real estate?
Right. Right. Yeah, I still think it's amazing to this day. And would you agree that the once you give someone a great experience, it's a rare occasion where they don't want to do deals with you anymore, unless something happens in their life or whatever.
Right.
But it kind of changes from where am I going to raise money to do this real estate deal to, oh shit, I got to keep these people's money busy now.
Right.
If I don't keep it busy, they're going to go put it somewhere else.
Exactly. Yeah. So that very first lender that lent on that first deal is I just paid him back on another deal just this year, or sorry, 2024. So he is still lending. That was 12 years later on deals.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's awesome.
And
So
again, also by asking that question, yeah, the first lend was $200,000. Well, now he's up to being able to lend 500,000 on a deal or 1 million on a deal. Or I have one particular lender that is right now. I know this is going to blow people away, and I'm not saying this to brag, but because I've been working with this lender since 2013. He was one of our first lenders on the deal, where he's currently lending when I get to the full amount, $4 million over two deals.
yeah, that's awesome though.
And it started with again, bottom price point in my market at the time is a couple $100,000 on a deal, and now we're up to he's committed to me $4 million over two deals because I'm building spec homes.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So you got well, real quick, what kind of return are these lenders wanting? What kind of returns you paying for your lenders?
Right now, my lending package is 100% of the purchase price in rehab, 12% interest, 12% simple interest. So for people that don't understand what that is, it's basically 1% per month held. So very simple. So if they're lending $100,000 and that we have their um, money for 6 months, it's $1,000 a month. So $6,000. If it's 4 months, $4,000. Very simple interest, simple math. Honestly, 12% is nice because it's just 1% per month held. If it was 10%, I got to do math and I can't answer it that fast. But
Yeah,
at 12%, it's just 1% per month held. Very simple, very easy. It is obviously broken down by days and all that, but Title does all that math for you. But it's 12%, 1 month, 1% per month held. Um, one of the crazy things is when you're developing your own borrowing packet, like you're the borrower, they're the lender. They don't know necessarily what to expect. The majority of the private lenders aren't educated in the world. And I'm not saying that to say, oh, go screw someone over, but I'm telling you that to say you can create your own lending package or your own borrowing package, whatever, however you want to word it. But your own package as a borrower is like, look, I want to pay you 12% interest. I do not offer monthly payments.
yeah,
And it will be ballooned at the end. So and I am asking for 100% of the purchase and rehab. If they
yeah,
don't know anything to compare it to, you're eliminating the pushback without them even knowing, right? So it's 100% financed, purchase and rehab, 12% interest, no monthly payments. Oh, no points. That was the other one I was looking for in my head. No points, and it'll be balloon payment at the end. So they send the money to title. Title does their work, or send the money to the attorney at the escrow company, right? Handles all that stuff, and then it goes back to them when you sell the house.
right. So the physically the money never comes to you or the investor's hands. It all runs through title.
Yes, it all runs through title.
Yeah,
So in here in California though, when they send it to title, title processes close the purchase, and then then I do get the funds right as it closes. Then I get a check for what's ever left over from the closing process. So on that deal I'm working now, I borrowed $400,000 on a $320,000 purchase. I got about $76,000 because of closing costs,
yeah,
and then I used that $76,000 to complete the rehab, pay the taxes, like I said, pay taxes, pay insurance, all the good things, all the rehab, and then we just listed it and sold it. And once that closes, the lender gets paid back first. So
yeah,
they're the first lien holder. They're like a bank essentially to you. So the title company, they're on the list. They get paid first, and then all the other fees come out of it, and then we get whatever's left over.
yeah. That's another thing that's very attractive to private money lenders is we're always the last ones to get paid.
Yeah.
Everybody involved in every which way it gets paid. The investor is always the last one to get paid, which isn't that way in a lot of other types of business. So let's talk about the beginning. When you first started, you were talking about the deal you had on the busy road. If you're talking to someone who maybe is just thinking about getting into real estate or taking the same path as you, how did you start finding your deals when you first got started?
It's crazy. So we left that first seminar on real estate, and in that first seminar, they just throwing around a couple ideas on how to how to find deals. One of them was calling bandit signs. Bandit signs are those signs you see around town that are all stuck on a light pole and it says, we buy houses cash or whatever, you know, stop foreclosure. Over the years they've changed, right? But literally it was a sign that said, we buy houses cash. So I didn't call it. My business partner actually called it because it was in between, literally in between his seminar. He was a month before me, so his seminar was the month before October is September.
Mhm.
had to go had to go back through the calendar this way to get back to there. So his was in seminar, so he had us go in October. In between September and October, he was just driving home one day and saw a sign and called it. It happened to be a wholesaler. Wholesaler like, yeah, I actually have a deal. So in that 1 month, just picking up a phone and calling a bandit sign. That's how we got our first deal.
Zero marketing spend. Zero marketing spend on your first deal. And do you remember what you guys profited on? Just
I
the
think it was like $35,000.
$35,000 profited on zero marketing spend.
Yes, net before paying everything, before paying the business bills.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that just goes to show a lot of people they're there's free ways to market before you get into the high dollar. There's expensive ways to market, but there's also plenty of free ways to market to start driving revenue to your business.
Yeah, for sure. But that's one thing I want to touch on though, right? You see people love to post checks, right? Love to post those real estate checks. We see it all the time, right? So that would have been a check that I said like, we sold this. Here's our check for $35,000 from title. But what
Yeah.
that check doesn't show is we're paying back $5,000 to the initial investment into our education. We're
Yep.
paying back, our office expenses. We're paying back the printer we had to buy to get the office set up, all those little things. So yes, yeah, cool. It was a $35,000 check, but that didn't go in my pocket. That didn't go in his pocket. Not even 50%, splitting it 50-50 went in each of our pockets.
Right.
So, there are expenses, there are things that happen. So, just people just don't need to realize that, when you're running a business, there's still expenses. You're not that check they're showing is it is profit to the business. It's great. It's a great thing. Don't get me wrong, but it's not necessarily it's not the full picture.
Clickbait, man. It's
Yeah.
clickbait. Click the link in my bio.
Yeah, I mean, we could go off onto a bunch of different stories. I like on that check story. I literally had a closing from title. Oh God, I don't remember the exact number, but let's call it. It was around $101,000.
Right.
So when you have a net sheet from title, everyone gets paid, and then at the bottom you have your total net to seller, right? Boom, $101,000.
Mhm.
We lost $60,000 on that deal.
Yep. Been there.
Right.
Yep.
So even though I could have showed that check, oh look, we got paid $101,000. No, we lost $60,000. It was another education that we had to pay for, but things happen,
Yep.
and it's just funny. I mean, that's a whole nother topic on its own. But yeah,
I'm glad you said that though, because we can sit here and talk about wins we've had for forever.
yeah,
But touch on that a little bit. Has there been times where you've taken one on the chin? We might go make 40, 50, $100,000 on a deal, but talk about maybe one or two of the times where you maybe lost a little bit of money.
yeah. I mean, like I said, that was one of them. That was an education where, if I could tie it back to something on that particular deal, it would be not understanding the market in a smaller niche market, right? So when we run comps, people say, oh, you do a half mile radius or whatever, and I was educated enough at this time to just dive a little deeper. But when you're doing, sometimes you go a little too fast.
Right.
So I didn't break it down far enough into a little smaller niche market in a gated community, which is kind of like kind of a retirement community where this particular house, it's kind of a gated community where there's golf courses in there. Golf course. There's a lake. There's all these cool little fun activities. But it's a little older typically. There's not a lot of young families in this neighborhood, which I know that. I knew that. Obviously, know better today. Um, but this particular house, the lady who built it wanted to be on the golf course at somewhere in the neighborhood, but also have a lake view. Okay, so she had to get up here
Huh?
when most levels are down here. To get from here to here, you have to put in a lot of stairs.
Yeah.
Okay, so not only that, this house was on street levels down here, right? So there's this nice windy driveway driving up to this level of the house. You pull into the garage, there's stairs. Pull up to the front of the house, there's stairs. So there was no way to get from driveway level, even if it was a nasty driveway, no way to get from parking level to house level without going up a lot of stairs.
Right.
Rewind back to then, we mentioned possibly putting in an elevator. Elevators cost around $30,000 to $50,000. We're like, oh, we're starting to bleed. We can see the writing on the wall. Price is dropping.
Right.
Had we put in an elevator, there's a good chance we would have broke even. Had we spent 30 to 50 more $1,000, we would have sold it a lot earlier and maybe not had to drop the price and
Right.
maybe broke even. But but you learn. That was
Right.
like I said, a particular neighborhood where older community people are not their final home, but like when they're done raising their kids, they're done dealing with all that stuff. They don't want to have to climb 25 stairs to get into the house anymore. They don't want
Right.
to go to the grocery store, walk to the mailbox, and then come back up to the house and go up 20, 17 stairs. I don't know the exact number, but it was close
Right.
to 20. So just that, that was one. Another one, when as you're growing your business, you start to do, bigger and bigger and better, badder things, right? So we had started off by doing one little cookie cutter flip, very simple. You could look at the comps and say that house is exactly the same. I know it's
Yep.
gonna sell for pretty darn close to that. I have pictures of it. Okay, boom, perfect. Look, I can see what it's gonna sell for because I have an exact comp. Now, as you're growing, you start to, so okay, we're gonna start to do some next level stuff. In a particular area of Sacramento, there is the need for growth, bigger homes. A lot of the homes are two bedroom, one bath. But in the area, there's a lot of hospitals, there's a lot of doctors, there's a lot of people that want something a little bigger. So like, hey, there's really nice big homes. There's small homes. There's nothing in that middle range. So we started going out, hey, let's take this two bedroom, one bath to a three bedroom, two bath, or a four bedroom, two bath, where we're doing an addition out the back of the property because the lots are big enough. So we could still have a backyard, extend the back of the house, make a bigger home. We just did it a little early. We were one of the first ones out of the gate. So where I had one where I lost $35,000 ish. I had one where I broke even, and I had one where I made like $50,000 to $60,000. So across the span, it was a net positive,
Right.
but it was like the from the loss to the break even to the profit. It took a while but that was
Right.
a lot of work. So it's like, okay, that sucked. Yes, we were in the black, but over 2 years of work, you don't want to make 25, $35,000.
Right.
So we were just a little early to the game, and then taste was a little sour in our mouths. So we're like, we're gonna try something else.
Got it.
So
Well, that's part of it though, man. I mean, we tell people you're not really a professional investor unless you've taken some losses here and there.
yes, sir. How
Especially
about how about you? You asked me my loss. Have you ever lost money?
mine. Oh yeah, a lot. Our big one was me jumping at a shiny object, and which is very easy to do when you start investing. You get sometimes I wouldn't say necessarily ego, but you might start chasing a bigger dollar outside of what you're professional at. Now we don't focus on anything outside of I'd say 25 miles of where I live, if that. And but at this point, back in 2017, I found a market over in Indianapolis to where the numbers were much bigger. So the same amount of investment, but the returns were two to three, four times to what we were making here in Toledo. And I thought it was a good idea to partner up with someone that sold me. I shouldn't say sold me a dream, gave me an opportunity, and I just jumped at the bigger numbers. And my mind was we were all going to profit about $100,000 each between three of us. And I said $100,000. I said, man, that's about 2 3/4 times. It would take me 2 3/4 deals in Toledo to make that. So I said, let's go all in and do it. Well, didn't know anything about the market, didn't know much about the individual that we had partnered up with. And that's pretty much it. And we sat on that job. It was absolute miserable because we all had our roles. My role was to kind of oversee the systems and processes of the rehab was operating properly. The guy that lived in the market was his job was the day to day to be on the job, his contractor base and all that. And we lost money instantly on day one because the day we closed on it, I found out that the home inspection wasn't done because on day two, the city of Indianapolis had came out, saw there was a closed transaction. City of Indianapolis came out with their home inspection or their inspectors, and we found out that day that the home was built on two foundations, which means instantly we weren't in the deal for 48 hours, and we found out it had to be a scrape. Meaning, what a scrape is when you go in and knock the house down, tear all the footers out, tear all the plumbing, tear everything out, and start with an empty lot and build new. So it went from a rehab that was supposed to take about 10 to 12 weeks to a new build from someone that had never new built anything. And it ended up taking 3 years. And collectively, we lost all the profit and the total amount lost was just over $250,000. The net loss cash out of our own pocket at the end of the deal, we all had to stroke off a check for, I believe it was in the high 40s or low 50s of cash out of our pocket after 3 years of depression, stress, misery, just a lot of stuff that came along with that. So if anybody's listening to that story, long-winded, I would say don't jump at shiny objects. Don't let the financial ego take you over. Once you find a niche and you become the absolute best in that niche and stay in that niche until it's time to grow beyond that, right? But never jump at another deal that you're not a professional at just because the numbers are bigger, because chances are you'll lose double.
Yeah. And so what is your niche right now? Like what do you do? What's your day to day? What's your current?
Good question. So one thing that we focus on, and it's very important to understand who you are. We are residential redevelopers. We're rehabbers. Our day to day is consistently looking for houses to rehab. Off of that comes different pillars, we'll say. So as we're looking for rehabs, our main target is always looking for rehabs. But I may sit down with the seller to where the numbers don't quite work to rehab the property, and we could list it. So Keith and I, my son and I, are both agents. It could turn into a listing where we can still satisfy the seller's needs by getting them the money they need, get rid of the property by listing it on the open market. That's another pillar that we do. The other one would be buy it and hold it as rental property. The long-term game in this world is to own as many properties as possible. That's where your wealth comes from. So our model is to keep the best and flip the rest, right? So the way that we
Like
serve
that.
our clients is we either buy them cash as is in the condition they're in. We can put them on the open market, sell them for full market value. We also have a arm where we can auction properties if it might not fit for us, but it might fit for another an investor. So we can create a little feeding frenzy and have an auction for the people. And those are pretty much all the ways that we serve our clients.
Nice. I love that. What was that saying?
Keep the
Keep the
best,
best.
flip the rest.
Keep
Yeah.
that. Yeah. I haven't heard you actually say that. That's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of the model. But I've learned a couple years back, it was you're always kind of all over the place, and I agree with being able to monetize a deal when it comes across your plate, 100%. But I also agree with you. You have to understand. I see people every day where they don't really know who they are, right? Like I'm a real estate investor that focuses on marketing for properties to flip. Um, in the grand scheme of things, with our model of real estate investing, all it is really sales and marketing, right? Because without filling the top of the funnel in your sales and marketing, the bottom stuff doesn't happen without understanding how to find properties and bring them into the pipeline. Now, other people in your situation, the way you've evolved over into a total different arm, I believe that all comes along with just the education and understanding how to look at this opportunity in real estate and how can I monetize it over here,
Yeah.
right? So let's talk about that. What's the evolution of you guys? You guys started off rehabbing properties. I know you got some rental portfolio, or you got a rental portfolio now, and now
Yep.
you're developing multi-million-dollar houses. What's that look like? How'd you get there?
Yeah, kind of like I said, we went from basically doing a cookie cutter flip into let's do some smaller additions to where the very first edition we ever did was we took it was I think a 3-1 or 3-1.5, and we added on a master closet and a true master bathroom to the back of this house to create what you would call a true master bedroom. It didn't really have that, so we added a small maybe like 10 foot by the width of the bedroom, 10 by 15, right? Just to create a true like walk-in closet, walk-in, bathroom. Then I went to those larger additions. Then I went to buying a vacant lot or buying a lot with a house on it, like you said, scraping the house. And then building what we call a spec home, which is you're buying it to sell it on speculation that you're going to get the price that you're going to get. So spec home. To doing spec homes, to buying a piece of land, to splitting it into two lots to build two spec homes, to market says someone else had other the deals we've done. Someone else took a piece of land, split it into 10 lots, put in a court or a cul-de-sac, and then they sold off lots individually. Where we bought a couple lots in this court or cul-de-sac to build two spec homes. Um, a deal that I'm currently working on is I bought a big acreage of land. It's like 14 acres, and we're splitting it off into 4 lots. We're going to put in the cul-de-sac or the court, and we have to put in wells and plan out for septic systems and run power, and we're gonna basically develop the land and kind of get it ready for someone to build their home, or possibly market it to have someone hire us to help them build their dream home. I'm working with two clients right now where we're helping them build their dream homes, to where we're consulting for them. We're basically, kind of opening the door to our business and saying, hey, here's how we do what we do. I know I can get you to the finish line using our vendors for a lot less than you would go hire, that general contractor or that new home builder or that home builder, that custom home builder. I can get you what you want to get for a lot cheaper. I can even show you, how we source some of our finishes for a lot cheaper. It looks just like restoration hardware, but I promise you I'm not paying restoration hardware prices, that
Right.
kind of stuff. So
Right.
we're kind of involved into that. Our business right now is probably 50-50. I'm sorry, 33, 33, 33. 33 flip, 33 our own spec home, and 33% we're trying to do stuff for other people. With all of that, there's another layer to the business, which is something that I owe everything to you on, Rick. Is We have some rental properties that we've purchased out there with you in Toledo, Ohio, to where we're building our rental portfolio as well.
That's good stuff. So if someone does ask you who you are and what you do, what's your answer?
I'm a real estate investor.
Right. Okay. All right. And if you're focused on what would you say you enjoy out of all those, or is all of it just different buckets? You like it all the same, or is there anything you're like, man, I really love doing this?
Um, I really love building spec homes. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it. And I know we've talked about it, and like I said, I'm building one. I'm borrowing $2 million on one house. That's a Some people wouldn't be able to sleep at night. I mean, we've talked about this. My wife
Yeah.
is one of them. No, she's not that
It-
bad, but it's I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'm built different, whatever, but like I know, as long as I've done my homework, I've done my research, I've done the market analysis, I've done the math, I've done the deal analyzer, if you will. I know I'm going to be okay, because
right.
I know what this house is going to sell for when I'm done with it. Now, of
Right.
course, I can't predict a market change. I can't predict, anything crazy. Something crazy happens. I mean, that's going to happen. That is the risk we're taking.
Right.
But if we've done our numbers and we've done our homework and we've done our research, we understand this house right over here sold for this much. If I build this one that looks similar to that, I'm going to do it better. I'm going to do it cheaper, and I'm going to sell for the same price.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. You inspired me. I actually have a meeting next week with a builder. Been doing it for years and years and years. He's on his way out, but he wants to mentor somebody, right?
Yeah,
And the niche for him used to be in this town. Now he does the big subdivisions and all that. But he said he got started building these little cookie cutter boxes, like how we always get these empty lots off the TV commercials. I get empty lots, people calling off empty lots all the time, and I never knew how to monetize them. So he said he'd be willing to show me how you can build a little cookie cutter on a slab or on a crawl, whatever place, a little, $195,000 house, and just bang them out on these little city lots. I've just never had the balls to do it, to be honest
yeah,
with
yeah.
you. But
That's good. That's awesome though. So talk about like what you just said. So we didn't go from a flipping house to building a spec home without a little help along the way, right?
right,
You've had a guy that mentioned a mentor for help you to get in that world. So what we did back in, gosh, I'd say 2015-ish, is we did a joint venture with someone
okay,
that was already doing it in that market. We're like, okay, hey, I was like, I know I'm good at raising money. I know I can raise money. I don't know how to build a spec home.
yeah,
You know how to build a spec home. I have the money. Let's work together and let's do some houses. So that's kind of how that started. So where I would go to the job site all the time. That wasn't my part of my role. I'm not supposed to be on the job site every day, but I want to understand how it works. So
right,
that I don't want to split the profit with him for long. So, we did a few houses and I'm like, you know what? I can do this. We can do this. We can do this. So then now, we're doing it without any partners, and we're doing it on our own. And now, like I said, we're helping people by consulting for them to build their own houses.
yeah. So that worked out for you was to just set it up on like a JV, just split. He would help you get through the process A to Z of the build and ready to go, and then you would split the profit on the back end on the
Correct.
back end.
Yeah, it was just a straight joint venture agreement. The joint venture agreement kind of spelled out each of our roles and responsibilities, just as you would have a business agreement with you inside your business. Like,
Yeah,
here's my roles, here's your roles, here's what we're expected to do, here's our profit share at the end.
that's good stuff. That's a good idea. And then was he okay with when it was all said and done, and you got to you're comfortable understanding the process now of you off doing your own thing, or did that cause friction on the back end?
No, no, because he was off doing his own thing on the side also. So as an example, like when you grow, not everything aligns, right? As so like as an example, if you're you're doing, let's say you're doing, 5 houses a year, but all of a sudden the leads come in and you have the opportunity to do 10 houses a year.
Right,
You may not have the funds or the capacity to do that. So you're like, hey, I have these 10 houses. I know I have five funded, but I have these other five that I can't fund myself.
right,
But I don't want to just give them away, or maybe I don't want to just wholesale them away, right? You're not going to wholesale someone land typically, right? So he's like, hey, I have these deals. Let's do these together. You bring in the funds, when we'll work on them together. But he was still doing his own stuff on the side,
nice,
so it wasn't like his only business.
right.
So
It's a good.
and again, the best joint venture is the one where you're communicating the whole time, like
Right,
everyone's on the same page. There's a lot of communication.
right. Yeah, no, I think that's a great way to get started in anything, especially anything that has to do with real estate, is learning from somebody that's a professional in that aspect.
Yeah.
You know, good for you, man. Good for you. So what's next for Josh and Christy? What do you guys got? Well, actually, hold on a second. Before we go there, we've talked a lot about work and we talked about a lot of making money through real estate and all that. You got two boys.
Yes,
What has
sir.
real estate done for your family, for your freedom, for your I know you're big on sports, for never missing things. What's your daily life look like?
I mean, the like you use the word freedom, but it's the freedom to build your own schedule, to
Right,
create your own schedule, right? I'm not clocking in at 8 and clocking out at 5, right? You go to banker's hours or 9 to 5, whatever whatever that is. I don't have someone that, if I don't schedule, I don't have anyone telling me I have to be anywhere at a certain time. I mean,
right,
that is the value on that is exponential. Being able to plan on going out of town with Christy on a Tuesday and coming back on a Thursday because we can schedule that in our schedules. Um, Being able to leave on a Friday afternoon to go travel with my son Colt in his, for a soccer tournament down in, San Diego or the Bay Area, wherever that may be. This past year, I had the opportunity to become a head coach of our local high school JV football team. And had I had a real job, I don't think I mean, I know I couldn't have done it as well as I did it, or as much time as I wanted to put into it because of the time it takes. But I was able to work my schedule to where, if I had to watch film at 1 o'clock, I can watch film at 1 o'clock to get ready for practice. And I can schedule, when practice is over, I can go respond to my emails at 7, 8 o'clock at night if I needed to get back to something or cut
right.
checks for that day or whatever it was. So just being able to control your schedule and work it. I mean, man, over my son's playing sports, multiple sports sometimes at a time and over a year, I've missed very, very few games other than stuff that, I had, that was scheduled that, I used to travel and speak.
Right.
So, that was when I worked for someone else. They told me I had to be somewhere at a certain time to speak to a few people. So I did it. But other than that, in my own business, it's rare that I have to schedule something to where I have to miss something.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, man. A lot of people get caught up. What would you say to the person that they see the checks or they see the lifestyle, the posts on social media? What would you say to the new person? Would you say chase the money or would you say chase the lifestyle?
Yeah, chase the lifestyle, chase the dream, because
Yeah,
the dream has to be worth the work that you
yeah,
put into it, right? Like I said in 2013, I was it was the worst year of my life. I lost my mom. I literally and my mom was a bookkeeper in our business, so I'm not a bookkeeper, but I
right,
had to learn her job like that. She got brain cancer, didn't know how to do anything. That was like a damn light switch.
right,
Um, so being able to put in the work and put in the time that the finish line is worth it.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, man. I think that's the main reason we do these podcasts, man, is to share the real life, real story, results of people, what this industry can do. And but I think you hit it on the head. It's a lot of work, you know.
Yeah.
It's
But
definitely
honestly though, like we call it work, right? But I don't feel like I work a day in my life.
right.
There's
Yeah,
times where it's a grind,
yeah,
but I remember back when I was working corporate and I'm like, man, this isn't work. I love this.
right,
I love this.
right. Yeah, it definitely gives options, and you have a lot in your tool bag, man. If there's a the real quick before we get off here, there's so far just in your side alone, we've talked about the new builds, we've talked about additions, we've talked about, I know you've done wholesales in the past, talked about rehabbing. Your wife's an agent. What would you say real estate as a whole? You said you've always been real big on just show me something where I can turn it into money,
Yeah.
right? How important would you say that education is to immerse yourself into when you're first learning this game?
Yeah, man. So we've talked about this, and actually, Christy and I had just talked about this recently, and I feel like aside from us putting in the work, I personally owe everything to two different people or two entities, right? One is the education.
Mhm.
I mean, without that education, and we would be nowhere near where we're at today. Even if I had put everything and start and try to do it myself.
Right.
I mean, I know me being me and putting in the work that I put in, I know I could figure it out, which I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that say, you know what, I can do anything, I can figure it out, you
Yep.
know. But with the education, you can fast track. You can get there a lot faster. It helps you eliminate a lot of those bumps and bruises. And
Yep.
the other one is that first business partner I had because I was broke. I didn't have the money to pay for the education. So I would say I literally, I'm gonna get emotional. Where we're at today is those two things. Because I mean the education, I'm literally that passionate about it, and I'm that passionate about the thanks I owe to that business partner.
I think that's awesome because everybody has that story, that part right there. You know, he was able to foot the bill for you for that education.
Yeah.
And that's the exact same story that when we were at ours in Detroit, Chuck went to the back of the room and ripped off the credit card, and I found out I had to pay him back when I was the back there back. It's just funny how
Yeah.
one incident, one thing, one somebody can make that one generous act for you,
Yeah.
right? And just the ripple effect that comes from that. So for you, it was your first business partner. For me, it was Chuck, and it's just like I'm not too sure if I'd been able to run that credit card that day, you know.
Yeah.
But just what's
Well, and
happened.
I know you well enough, Rick, that you wouldn't have stroked that check. You would not have
Oh no.
you would not have swiped that card.
Well, I'd still be Googling.
Today. Today you still be doing the research.
I'd still be
But
looking into
But with that being said, though, too, like what's crazy is that
it.
education, yes, it's real estate education, but it spills out into everything you do because it's not just, real estate, X's and O's,
Right.
it's lifestyle, like what, like the education, once you start getting into it and you want more, like, I I read the first book I literally ever read and from cover to cover because of this, because of getting my real estate education and realizing it's more than just education. It's about more than just real estate education. It's about educating yourself. And it's spilled off into so many other things, which, like I said, this last year, I was able to get a head coaching job. I never played football, but through my real estate education and coaching and learning how to coach, it's I'm like, okay, I can do anything. I can teach myself what I need to teach myself. But the
Right.
structure is there. Yeah, of course I can't equate real estate to football,
Right.
but the principles of how to get from A to B are very similar.
Yeah.
How to draw the best out of people. How to when I'm dealing with the contractor is very similar than dealing with a football player. How do I get the contractor to do what I want him to do? How do I get this football player to do what I want him to do? So
Yeah.
like it's weird how there's so many comparables.
When you what today does your team look like?
Right now it's me and my right hand man in my company. Those are my only two employees. I'm an employee of my company. My right hand man Kevin's an employee of my company. It's us two are the only employees of our company. Christy is a consultant who there's no way in hell that we would have the design that we have. We would have you know, the sales understanding that we have of real estate sales.
Right.
The spec homes, like her design education, not education, but her vision for the designs is out of this world. And that would cost you a lot of money. You could hire that out. I'm thankful that I had that as my wife. She's phenomenal at that. And then I have someone who works remote, good old Taylor, still around. Taylor. She don't work for me remote, but she took another job, moved out of town, so she's doing things that she can do remote, and she just makes a flat. She's like a 1099 employee, I'd say. A
Right.
flat. She has a certain role that she does every month, and she handles that role. But as far as actual employees that are on my books, it's just me and Kevin.
Nice.
And we
Nice.
divvy up, like there's kind of, as we've evolved. I had a project manager who was my dad, but he retired. I just talked to him actually just yesterday about it. I asked him if he misses it. He said he doesn't. We were dealing with some drama about one of the projects. He's like, I sure don't miss that. And I said, you sure do miss the checks though, don't you? And he laughed. Retirement is not the same, but he's relaxing. He's loving it.
Good.
But yeah, me and Kevin handle the day to day. Christy is probably underappreciated for all that she does in our business because she's not an employee because she has her own real estate business.
Right.
But basically, us three, I'd say, even like she's not an employee, are the ones that handle all of that.
So what would you say to somebody, just somebody's listening to this podcast, somebody's coming to one of our meetups, people that are where we were all those years ago of just an idea of thinking about wanting to do real estate? What would you tell somebody?
I mean, start small and start with what you know, what you're comfortable. I mean, and hire out what you're not. So with, like, as an example, we had a project manager for a while because I know I'm not good at I wasn't good at project managing. I needed Kevin to do what Kevin needed to do. So that's why we had a project manager. But take that, like, back up to that, to where that project manager wasn't my dad was never an employee of our business. He was a project based person. So you don't need this big staff. You can do it alone and then just rely on other people to do stuff outside of your business.
Right.
Start small, start simple, and grow from there.
How important is the people you surround yourself with, would you say?
I mean, you can't even put a number on it. It's like I've said it, exponential. Like it's I mean, one of the sayings that always sticks with me is the five people you surround yourself is who you become, essentially. The five people you surround yourself with the most, right? So I try to hang out with you so often, Rick.
Yeah, I can tell it. Exactly. Yeah, it won't be long. You'll be bald and freaking in Toledo, Ohio, man.
Yeah.
What's next for 2025 for Josh Christie and the NorCal team?
Um, we're right now I'm focusing on trying to fill the rehab side of things because we get so focused on the big ones that I need to, like, backfill the what you would consider a basic rehab. That's probably my hardest thing to find. That's what creates the most work for me, other than managing projects and doing, building homes, but finding those rehabs. So that's kind of what our focus is right now, is find some rehabs to fill the pipeline and just keep doing what we're doing. I mean, we kind of, like I said earlier, I love building spec homes. So it's just a matter of um, taking it day by day and just, find some flips, keep building the spec homes, and keep, finding ways to evolve in the business.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. This is all really good, and I appreciate you sharing the ins and outs of the business over the years. I know that it's I've had the opportunity to watch a lot of this over the years, and I think it's awesome. Especially over the past 4 years, how everything changed or has
Yeah.
changed, and
I mean, we were literally on the phone the day they started shutting things down. We were on a call literally when that
yeah,
happened. But yeah,
yep,
but we started talking in what, 2018, probably, when you started coaching.
17,
17.
17 started coaching.
Yeah,
Yes, 2017 started coaching.
almost 8 years.
Yeah, yeah, lots happened since then.
Yeah.
Remember the day the COVID started, I was laying on the couch in St. Petersburg watching a basketball game, and everybody started leaving the court. Everybody started coming off the court because they were shutting the country down. And I remember you saying, "Oh, it's bullshit. This is gonna be gone by tomorrow. This is somebody's got the bird flu."
Yep, and
Four
we
years
rolled
later,
through
here
it.
5 years later now, here we are.
Yeah, we rolled and evolved through it.
That's it. That's it, man. So good stuff, brother. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and I will get this out today. And if I can ever help you with anything, you know how it is. Don't hesitate to ask.
Yes, sir.
You for sharing all of the good stuff with everybody. I'm sure a lot of people, if you've not connected with Josh or seen him on my social media or whatever, it's just Josh Hastings on Instagram or NorCal Homes. And what's your Instagram?
My personal one.
Oh, the NorCal one.
I think it's NorCal Homes LLC.
On Instagram and
Yeah, I think it's
Facebook.
NorCal Homes
Yeah, you
LLC. Yeah.
follow some pretty cool stuff, some different types of projects, what these guys are doing on a day-to-day basis. Follow them on Instagram. And if you need anything from me, don't hesitate to reach out. We can make the connections. And if you might be interested in the deal analyzer that Josh was talking so much about, don't hesitate to drop me a message in any of the social media platforms, and I'll be happy to send you a copy of that. Until then, we'll see you on the next one.